Don't buy that, buy this. Today, we're going to be looking at 5 whiskeys that I suggest you skip because I'm giving you 5 alternatives that I think are better. I'm Jeff, this is G Whiskey. Stick around. All right, so don't buy that, buy this. Pretty simple concept. I've got a bunch of whiskeys here that I think make for better purchases than a bunch of other whiskeys. And listen, that's not to say that I think these are bad whiskeys. It's just that I think my suggestions do better jobs. These might be whiskeys that are similar in style, similar in price, or just fill a similar role, like gift giving, for example. Of course, for each one, I'll explain why I prefer one to the other. And in terms of the list itself, there's no real order, there's no hierarchy here. Basically, this is just 5 whiskeys that I think are better than other whiskeys. As usual, guys, I do have a mystery pour in the glass as well, so make sure you stick around. This is a whiskey that I actually reviewed not too long ago. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't particularly like it either. It's fine, definitely not a favorite. So what I'll do is at the end of the list, I'll share this with you, and I'll also give you what I think to be a superior alternative. Your hint for today is that this is a sherried Isla expression, so good luck guessing. Stick around to the end, and I don't want to waste any more time. Let's just dive into this. So this is my buy this, not that list. And also, if you could kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. All right, at number 5, we're going to start with the most obvious one. If you're into whiskey, you might have heard that Johnnie Walker Blue is not the best value. This one gets talked about a lot, and it is actually a pretty good whiskey. It's smooth, it's mature, it's sophisticated. This one is a no age stated blend. It is quite expensive, but you can tell there's some older stock in this. It tastes like an older whiskey. The issue is that it comes in at 40%, so it is lacking when it comes to texture and intensity. Now, Johnnie Walker Blue gets bought a lot as a gift because it has that kind of like luxury reputation. And listen, it's a perfectly fine pour if you just want something sort of light and smooth and easy. It does work, especially if it's for someone who's not that deep into whiskey. The issue is more value because this is too expensive, which is why I want to suggest something that I consider to be a lot more interesting that comes in at a similar price point, at least it does here in my market. If you want a luxury flex that actually delivers, especially if someone's into whiskey, I suggest the Glenmorangie Signet. Johnnie Walker Blue is good. This is better. This one comes in at 46%, so it's going to be more substantial. Also, this one is a single malt. And whether you agree with this or not, single malts do tend to command more respect than blends in the enthusiast community. Beyond all that, this one is also a no age stated whiskey that's known for containing older whiskey in it. Apparently, some of the component whiskeys in here are 30 years old and above. And listen, specs aside, look at this presentation. This looks luxurious, and unlike Johnnie Walker Blue, it delivers. This tastes luxurious too. So it's the whole package, and I definitely think it's a step up. This gives us rich coffee and chocolate and malty sweetness. It's smooth, it's complex, it's layered. There's plenty going on here. It'll keep the enthusiasts interested, but it's also got broad appeal. It's smooth and rounded enough that I think pretty much anyone can like it. So big step up from the Johnnie Blue and highly recommended. Next up, we're talking about another pretty obvious choice, and that is Springbank 10, which is a darling. Everyone loves it. I love it myself, but it can be hard to find and it can be expensive. So the alternative that a lot of people suggest, myself included, is the Kilkerran 12. Now granted, Kilkerran 12 is not sold everywhere. There are markets where it's a little bit hard to track down, but it is more available. And in terms of quality, this is every bit as good as Springbank 10. Now, these two whiskeys don't have the exact same profile. They are different, and people are going to have their preferences. Some people prefer Kilkerran, others, probably more, will say they prefer Springbank, but both are going to give you that signature Campbeltown vibe, which is a little bit rugged, a little bit funky. I would say the Kilkerran leans grassier. It's a little bit more herbal, while the Springbank is going to be a little bit rounded and more sweet, especially the newer batches. But quality-wise, as far as I'm concerned, they're on the exact same level. So while they're not the same, the Kilkerran does scratch a similar itch, and at least here in my market, it tends to be the one that's more available and more affordable, which is why it's getting suggested over the Springbank 10. All right, the next whiskey we're looking at is the Macallan 18, which is either loved or hated. It is a coveted whiskey. It's an expensive whiskey. To be honest, I get the Macallan hate, but I do enjoy their whiskeys and I do enjoy their house style. The issue is always the ABV and the price. We're paying a premium for, I don't even know why. They tell us to. So instead of the Macallan 18, I suggest you get Tamdhu 18. Now, like the Macallan, this is a mature whiskey. It's a well-sherried whiskey, but the Tamdhu is much richer and more intense. Unlike Macallan's 43%, this one gives us 46.8%. It's fully matured in Oloroso sherry casks, and it's stunning whiskey. And listen, this is not even something I have to think about. Like, given the choice between the two, not only is the Tamdu going to be cheaper, I mean, it's not cheap, but it is cheaper, but it's better. I think this tastes better. It's more refined, it's more complex, it's more lush. And listen, we're not treading new ground here. Tamdu is often touted as an alternative to Macallan. Thing is, I often hear that about the 12-year-olds or the 18-year-olds, the younger expressions, but even when we get into premium territory with these 18-year-olds, listen, you could completely remove price from the equation. I know that's a hard thing to sort of do mentally, but you could remove price altogether, and between the two, I am still choosing the Tamdu. I think it's the better whiskey, which is why it's recommended here. Tamdu 18. All right, next up, we're talking about an enthusiast darling that I reviewed recently and didn't love, the Ben Nevis 10. Now listen, I got some backlash for that review. If you're a fan of this stuff, that's cool, but I didn't really like it that much, and I think there's a better alternative, which is the Loch Lomond 12. Now, of course, these are different whiskeys, completely different distilleries, but what ties them together is they both have a very dirty, funky, and rugged style. And listen, to be fair, this is not my favorite style of whiskey in general, and even the Loch Lomond 12, not a favorite of mine. Not because I think it's bad, it's just this kind of flavor profile isn't usually for me, but if I'm choosing between these two whiskeys, I'm going for the Loch Lomond 12. I find it older. Well, I don't find it older, it is older, but it tastes older. It's less sharp and it's a little bit more rounded, but not so much that it doesn't still have that gritty and challenging side to it. These are both very rugged and very funky pours, very much not for beginners. The Loch Lomond 12 is more about industrial machine oil type flavors. It is rounder. It is simpler. It's not as complex as the Ben Nevis 10, but it's also less sharp. It's less biting. And in my market, the Loch Lomond 12 sells for about 50% of the price of the Ben Nevis 10, and it's easier to find. So yes, different profiles, but they do have that dirty, rugged energy. One is much easier to find. I think it tastes better, so it gets recommended. Instead of Ben Nevis 10, get Loch Lomond 12. All right, last up for today, we're going to be looking at the Arran Machrie Moor. Now, this is not a whiskey I've ever reviewed before on the channel, and there's a reason for that. I try and keep things as positive as I can here. In fact, I'm known for my very upbeat, chipper, and positive demeanor. Because I just know that if I were to review this stuff, I would not have a lot of nice things to say about it. And that's not to say that it's garbage, but it is a bit garbage. And I'm saying that as someone who loves Arran. I think there are loads of better alternatives out there if you want a young peated whiskey, but my recommendation is going to be the Lag Kilmorey, which just across the board is a better whiskey. This is a newish distillery. It only opened in 2019, so their whiskeys are quite young. And interestingly, this is Arran owned. So this is the sister distillery to the Lachranza distillery where they make Arran, but Lag specializes in peat and they do it better. The Lag character is a lot more oily and industrial. It's got more texture and it's got more grit. By contrast, you look at the Machrie Moor, it's sharper and it's also flatter. It doesn't have the intensity and it doesn't have the depth. So if you're looking for a young peated island dram, the Lag gives us much more substance. There's just more for us to sink our teeth into in that one, which is why I would choose it over the Arran every time. All right, that was the list, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And of course, remember, this is all just opinion. So if you don't like my choices or you don't like my alternatives, we can just agree to disagree and you're wrong. And of course, as always, I do want to hear from you guys. So what are some whiskey bottles that have better, superior alternatives? Now, you do have to tie them together. So maybe it's flavor, maybe it's price, maybe it's, gift-giving purposes. Whatever the case, they can't be unrelated whiskeys. Finally, if you stuck around for the mystery pour, we've got a bottle that I think is fine, it's decent, but I wouldn't recommend it because there is a stronger alternative. So for now, what I'm drinking in the glass is Kilchoman Sannig Cask Strength. Now, this is a controversial pick. I know a lot of you out there really like this one. For me, it's fine, but I'm not impressed, and I think there are better alternatives out there. If I'm looking for that peat sherry combo in a similar price range, what I'm going to go for instead of this is the Ardbeg Uigeadail. Now, Ardbeg Uigeadail does not get the love that it used to, and it used to be better, that's true, but that's not to say that today it's a bad whiskey. It's still a very good whiskey, and it gives us more character and more complexity than the Kilchoman. I think this is more layered, it's more interesting, there's more stuff going on, and it's also not quite as sweet as the Sannig, which I do think is borderline too sweet. I know I've offended a few people. Sannig does have its fans, but I said this in my last video, I'm very edgy. I don't even care. And that brings us to the end of the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As always, I want to hear your thoughts. I'm looking forward to reading the comments. And if you want to help support me, I've got Patreon, PayPal links down below. Patrons over there. And we'll catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.